Welcome back to Homesteading with the Zimmermans, where we work hard and play hard on our little corner of land in Iowa. My husband and I were born and raised Old Order Mennonite, or horse and buggy Mennonite, as some refer to them as. And although we are no longer part of that culture or community, we are intentional about passing on the old-fashioned skills of our childhood to the next generation. Good morning. I am so happy to see you back here. Can you believe that Thanksgiving is only a week away? We have been very busy preparing for Thanksgiving, and my habit is to prepare little bits and pieces ahead of time and freeze everything that I can so that on Thanksgiving Day, I'm not stuck in the kitchen while everybody else socializes. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a mashed potato recipe that the Mennonites use. They use it for weddings and large gatherings because they can put it in the freezer. And it keeps up to it. These mashed potatoes will keep for up to a month in the freezer, and you can even refrigerate them for a whole week. So normally I would make these refrigerator mashed potatoes a couple days before Thanksgiving, put them in my crock pot and just leave them in the refrigerator and then get them out. But because we will be traveling for Thanksgiving this year and taking the mashed potatoes with us to warm up when we arrive at our Airbnb, we are going to freeze them because that way they will travel well, and by the time we arrive at our Airbnb, they might be about defrosted. So let's dig in and get started with these refrigerator or make-ahead mashed potatoes. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to peel a whole bunch of potatoes. And thankfully, I have plenty of helpers for this part of the project. So while the boys work on peeling the potatoes, I'm going to work on cutting all the potatoes into the same size pieces so that they cook evenly. I'll just peel them.
You have to get to the song, okay?
Mom, this is super good. I got 7 done with this. One horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Yep, that's right.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Mom, this is so good. I got 8 done.
Okay.
I don't know what that's mine, but jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells. This one is tiny.
Okay, each of you go bring me as many potatoes as you can carry, okay?
What? We aren't gonna have enough? How do you know?
I know, because I need that kettle to be almost all the way full.
I just have a bunch of tiny ones. Me too.
Go get the bigger ones now. Get as many big ones as you can carry, okay? Good job. Those will peel so much easier.
Mom.
Good job. Okay, put them in and peel them.
Okay. Okay.
So we are saving all the potato peels for our pig that just had babies. But since potatoes, raw potatoes, contain a toxin called solanine that can cause an upset stomach in animals, we are first going to cook the potato peels before we feed them to Poppy. So now we're ready to cook our potatoes, and you'll want to start with cold water because as the water heats, it will heat the potatoes slowly and the potato will cook evenly on the inside and the outside. If we start with hot water, the outside of the potato will get soft and fall apart before the inside is soft. So we're just going to cook the peels until they start to turn clear, and we're going to keep an eye on the potatoes. I want to be able to push a fork into the center and have them fall apart. So here you can tell they're not quite done because although the center, I can push a fork all the way into the center, the potatoes are not easily falling apart when I prick them. So after a couple more minutes, the potatoes are much softer and they fall apart easily when I prick them with a fork. So now I know that they're ready to mash. So the very first thing you want to do is pour all the water off of the potatoes. You want to get every last bit of water off, and I'm saving the water for Poppy, our pig. I've added the water to her peels that are done cooking. I'm going to put the pot of warm steaming potatoes back on my burner, and I'm going to cover them with a nice clean cotton dish towel and put the lid on, and this will absorb any additional moisture that is in the potatoes. Too much moisture in your potatoes will cause them to be sticky like glue when you mash them. And I'm just going to let them sit like this for 5 to 10 minutes. So after the potatoes have steamed into the towel and given off more of their moisture for 5 to 10 minutes, I am going to ladle them all into my mixer. You can use any mixer for this, or you can hand mash them. Doesn't really matter because at this point they are going to mash very easily. So I had almost too many potatoes for my mixing bowl, but we made it work. So I'm using my Bosch mixer with the whisk instead of the cookie beaters, so I'll have to be very vigilant to not overmix the potatoes. The cookie beaters would have been a better choice, but I couldn't find them at this time. So I decided to go with the whisk and just keep a close eye on them. So it's very important to mash your potatoes until they're perfectly smooth before you add any ingredients. So this was just the potatoes, and I didn't use speed as much as I used the length of time to get them to this smooth state. And then we're going to start adding our ingredients. So I am making these mashed potatoes from the heart, which means I'm not really measuring my ingredients. But I've added salt and butter and cream cheese, and I'm going to add some sour cream. And yes, your printable recipe is linked in the description, and in that printable recipe I'm going to have all the measurements for you. I'm adding a little bit of onion powder, which I almost forgot. You could also add a bit of ranch powder instead of the onion powder if you'd like. So the reason this recipe works much better for freezing than plain old mashed potatoes is because of the added fat in the butter and the sour cream and the cream cheese. Fat in a recipe is what causes it to freeze and then keep its same consistency when it thaws. So now that all the ingredients are incorporated, we are going to dish the potatoes into the pan that we want to freeze them in. And remember, when you are using your mixer to make your mashed potatoes, do not use speed, just use a low speed and give it time. And normally, if we were staying at home for the holidays, I would dish these all into my crock pot and put them in the refrigerator for up to a week. But because we are traveling, I want to use a disposable container so that I don't have to worry about bringing all my containers home. So then we are just going to put butter all over the top of these potatoes, and you could add the butter right before you reheat them, but I'm adding it before I put them into the freezer because that's one less thing I have to worry about on Thanksgiving Day. So then before I put them in the freezer, I'm just going to wrap them up tightly, and then I'm going to label them so that when it comes time to pack up, I know what is in each container. Okay, so now that you've made your mashed potatoes and you've either put them in the refrigerator or the freezer, let me walk through what it's going to look like when you're ready to prepare them for your family or your guests. Now, mine are going to stay in the freezer until closer to Thanksgiving Day, so I'm not going to be able to get them out and heat some to show you those steps, but I can walk you through them just as easy. So get your potatoes from the freezer about 36 hours before you want to serve them. So let's say we were going to have Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday at lunchtime. On Tuesday night before bed, I would get my potatoes out and put them in the refrigerator, and then they're ready to heat on Thanksgiving Day. Now, I'll have all of this in the printable recipe, so you don't have to try to remember it. You can just check your recipe. And then you're going to bake them at 350 until they're hot all the way through. And I usually leave them covered for the first half of baking and then uncover them for the last half. But you really just need to heat them all the way through. And that can take about 30 to 45 minutes in a 350-degree oven, or about an hour in a crock pot. So the next morning, we are getting ready to go to the barn, and we remember the potato peels that we cooked yesterday, and we want to take them to the barn as a treat for our mama pig, Poppy. So then we're just going to pour all those cooked potato peels in with the rest of Poppy's food to give her some added carbohydrates, as she is working very hard to feed all her piglets.
you.
Are you getting some? Okay, are you gonna drink it now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's video. Thank you to everybody that showed up and watched, and a special thanks to those of you that did not skip the ads and watched all the way to the end. Since we don't take a lot of affiliate partners, watching our videos all the way to the end and watching the ads is one of the best ways that you can support us, and we are so grateful and so thankful for you. We will be back next Saturday with our second annual Thanksgiving video.